Thanks for making time for Bloomberg TV and Radio, Chancellor. We've heard you say already that the public finances are in a pretty precarious position. So I want to ask you, many Labour MPs really want you to lift the two-child benefit cap, and we hear that includes the Prime Minister. Can we afford to do that?
Well, no one needs to tell me how important child poverty is. I came into the Labour Party because I wanted children from all backgrounds to have a good start in life. And we've already made strides in reducing child poverty in this Parliament. We're rolling out free breakfast clubs at all primary schools, extending free school meals to an additional 500,000 children. We've capped the cost of school uniform. And we've increased the national living wage and national minimum wage. Would I like to do more? Yes, but of course we haven't always got to explain how policies will be paid for. Yeah. We've got the report from the Child Poverty Task Force later this year, and we'll respond to that. But it is important for all families that the numbers add up, and that's always what I've done as Chancellor of the Exchequer.
And that's been a really strong message from you throughout. Does your party, though, understand how important it is to make the numbers add up, stand on the right side of the bond market?
We campaigned at the election on economic stability, fiscal responsibility, and we did that for a reason, because it was ordinary working people and businesses who paid the price for the economic mismanagement in the last Parliament, when interest rates went through the roof, when inflation got out of control, when pensions were put in peril. And because of that, my party, the Labour Party, accepted the crucial importance of economic discipline to support working families. It's not intention, economic responsibility, to our commitments to make people better off. It is part of that commitment, because those 5 cuts in interest rates, as you know, by the Bank of England, but they've only been possible because of that stability we've returned to the economy.
But look, on winter fuel payments, on pay rises for doctors, on welfare reforms, you've seemed to give, but when are you going to take away? When are you going to choose the bond market over the left of your party?
Well, if you look today at my conference speech, I'll be setting out a youth guarantee, because at the moment we've got 1 million young people who are not in education, employment or training. That's 1 in 8 young people. I'm not going to let that stand. It is a waste of their talent and potential, but it's also a huge waste for business and a huge waste for taxpayers that we are subsidising young people to be out of work when we want them to be in training or in paid employment. And that's one example of how we're reforming the welfare state to get the costs down and at the same time bringing more people into work.
What would you do about it if someone said they don't want to work in the care home?
Well, that's not acceptable. You know, like, welfare is not an alternative to work. The welfare state is there if you need it. You can't say, oh no, actually I'd rather remain on benefits and take that job opportunity. And that's a really important part of what I'm setting out today. It builds on what the previous Labour government did under Tony Blair with the New Deal for young people, that said there was not an option just to stay on benefits. And that's the same with me as Chancellor.
OK, look, I don't expect you to preempt your budget with me, Chancellor, but you did promise business that there'd be no more borrowing and no more tax rises. Is that still true?
Well, what I did last year at the budget was draw a line under the economic and fiscal mismanagement of the previous government, and that did require difficult decisions on taxes.
So there won't be more of them?
Well, I think all of your viewers can see that the last year has brought its fair share of global challenges. The global cost of borrowing, the tariffs from the United States, the ongoing conflicts in the Middle East, the disruptions to supply chains, Russia's intensified aggression. I'm Chancellor in the world as it is, not as the world as I might wish it to be. And I had to respond to those. But those fiscal rules that we set out in the election to pay for day-to-day spending through tax receipts, to get debt down as a share of GDP, to get the deficit down this year, those commitments stand. And I'm also determined to bring down inflation further, because I recognise that inflation at 3.8% is still too high. So that is a global challenge as well, but we get that down.
Those commitments stand. You say the manifesto stands. In the manifesto you said will not increase national insurance, the basic higher or additional rates of income tax or VAT. Yes or no, does that still hold?
Yes, it does, and we also made that commitment around corporation tax as well, and those commitments stand. And they stand for a reason, because working people paid a heavy price in the last Parliament. It was the worst Parliament on record for living standards. It's still the biggest challenge for working people. So those commitments stand. But what I want your viewers to know, that my commitments to economic stability, to fiscal responsibility and to those fiscal rules, they absolutely stand, because they are the bedrock of stability, and only with stability can we grow the economy.
So we need to know where you're going to find the money from. The French are in a similar fiscal bind. They're seemingly on the brink of a wealth tax. Is it time for a mansion tax here in the UK?
I would like to differentiate ourselves from what's happening in other countries around the world.
Well, wheels are higher here.
Yes, but they have struggled to get a budget through. And we successfully got the budget through last year and the spending review. And many people said that wouldn't be possible because we had to make difficult decisions. But I'm up for difficult decisions when they are in the national interest, and I will continue to take them. We already tax wealth in Britain with capital gains tax, with inheritance tax. The budget last year, as you know, we got rid of the non-domicile status in the tax system. We put VAT on the school fees. We increased taxes on private jets. We already have taxes on wealthy people in Britain. I don't think we need a standalone wealth tax. And in fact, countries that do have that don't have those other taxes. So I'm not even sure it would work.
OK, and there's been growing concern in the city as well that you could target the banking sector for higher taxes.
I think we probably shouldn't go through every single possible...
What's your message to the city?
Well, I think that from both of my Mansion House speeches, the city know how much I value the contribution that they make, both through direct employment and investment, but also supporting the wider economy with an efficient allocation of capital. And the regulatory reforms that I brought in at Chancellor are all about promoting growth and job creation and businesses coming to Britain in financial services.
Chancellor, you've also already said that you would be open to just having one OBR forecast per year. You accused Liz Truss, right here on Bloomberg TV, of sidelining the OBR. How is this different?
Well, the International Monetary Fund have said that there should be one fiscal event a year, and I committed to that in the manifesto and have done since. I think that their recommendation is a sensible one. That will have to mean changes in the second forecast, but that's not about reducing transparency. That is about better economic policy making, so we're not having to change policy and giving that uncertainty every 6 months for businesses.
Okay. Just finally, how much worse do the polls need to get for you to accept that we need to replace Keir Starmer?
Keir Starmer got elected with a massive mandate last year. If someone had said 15 months ago that we would be the fastest growing economy in the G7, we'd have 5 cuts in interest rates, we would have done trade deals with the US, India and the EU, that wages would have risen faster in the first 10 months of this Labour government than the first 10 years of the previous Conservative government, I think most people would have said, I don't think so, Rachel. We've achieved those things with Keir as Prime Minister, and we'll get on and continue the job.